I'm getting ready to work on this corner, and I think it's time to give an explanation and a tip. Basically, we're gonna be duplicating what we have over there. This cabinet goes between the blind corner cabinet and the pantry, and the blind corner cabinet, this one has a little bit of a scribe over here on the back, and take a look how nice it looks, completely closed. And also this blind corner cabinet has the blind panel that allows me to adjust left and right. And because I had a scribe, I also had voided space on the back. I don't know if you are able to see it. End up being only quarter inch, but I had 3/4 of an inch actually. If it wouldn't be for that scribe, then the cabinets wouldn't be able to fit. So, but now everything is nice and square and tight. Plus, I gave priority to the reveals, equal, 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 and it will be equal over here. Now, the steps that I take to do this is as follow. I'm gonna have a panel over here going vertical, and then from that line to that line is gonna be an upper, and then this where I'm gonna make an X right here is where the blind corner upper will be, and this is gonna be adjustable left and right, just as the same as the other one from the other side. But now here is where problems comes when it's this is not well thought out, either from the client or whoever is making the shop drawings. Because what happens if this wall over here tilts inward? That will be a problem, right? Because if it tilts inward, it's gonna push these cabinets to the left. That's not good because the lowers are already installed. Well, someone will say, what about if we install the uppers first? It's the same thing, because if we install the uppers first and then we transfer the line and then the wall turns out to be leaning out, what does that mean? That means that it's gonna push me the lowers to the left, and then the panel is gonna end up also crooked. So I have a solution for that. If you want to take it, I think it has worked in the past for me. Unfortunately, this drawing, I didn't have an input on doing that. But basically, this cabinet is gonna go left and right in order to have the same reveal over here. And also, I have some scribe over here in order to be able to move this cabinet either in and out. Okay, to be able to be square, basically, right? We want to be square. Okay, so the solution is very simple. Just add a filler over here. That's it. Reduce this cabinet whenever you have a cabinet like this. Reduce it 1 inch or inch and a half, whatever it is. Make a filler. Bring the filler forward, flush with the face of the doors, and that will solve completely all the problems. Because if it turns out that the walls are completely plumb and square, well, you're gonna have an inch and a half filler that is gonna look probably just like this. This is 3/4, so it'll look, inch and a half plus the door. It's gonna look nice. That's the best case scenario. But if the worst case scenario happens, just the way I showed you that pantry before, I had an 1 1/8, I believe, gap at the top At the bottom I was touching the wall, at the top was inch and an eighth gap because that wall is leaning backward. Well, if the worst case scenario happens over here and this wall is leaning inward, then I have my filler. I have inch and a half to do my scribe, to do my filler, and everything else doesn't change. Everything else keeps being square, plumb, level, etc. So I hope this tip is helpful for you. It works for me all the time. We're gonna see how this one goes because this one doesn't have a filler.
I already checked the corner and the walls are not gonna give me any more problems. You can see the green tape on my right side over there. That will be the scribe that I have to compensate for any gaps that I will have between the wall and the cabinet. And right now I'm measuring to make sure I have the same reveal that I have on the right side of the window. Next step, this step that I'm doing right now, it's leveling across top of the cabinet, making sure I am level with the rest of the uppers, and then I proceed to check the plumb line, making sure it is plumb also, because sometimes there are bumps in the drywall and I want to make my scribe exactly at the spot where the cabinet is gonna be. Now you saw me taking the square over there, so this, remember, I already have the lines marked on the wall, and the reason why I'm taking the square right now is because I'm pushing the back of the cabinet forward with shims just to make sure I'm coming out square at that section of the wall, because at the moment of making my scribe or marking my scribe, I don't want any changes afterwards because of the cabinet wasn't square. So that's what I'm doing, and after doing that I checked the difference between where the panel is right now versus where my line was. It could be half inch, it could be 7 inch, something like that. In this case was 7 inch, so that's what I'm doing. I taking my compass, I'm taking my level to be sure I'm plumb, and I will go ahead and do my scribing. Before marking my scribe, you see at the bottom of the cabinet over there that I have some shims. It was pushing the cabinet away like 1/4 inch or 3/8, making sure the cabinet was level and plumb, and then I mark the section over there. Then I proceed to bring the cabinet down again, put it on top of the blanket that I have on the floor, because now is time to repeat what I showed in the past videos, which was utilize my red pen, making sure I can see the line very clear, and I use my skill saw, my circular saw with the vacuum, do the first cut in an angle, just a little bit of an angle so I don't scratch the surface, and also the belt sander goes much easier when reducing the amount of material that I left after cutting it with a circular saw. That's what I'm doing right now. Perfect. It's done, it's ready. So now not only the gap between the wall and the cabinet will be closed, but the cabinet is going to be square, and the other upper that goes to the left is going to have no problems fitting in. While Armando peels off the plastic layer, the protection that comes with the panel, I go ahead and I do some tasks that needs to be done, like countersinking the lower cabinet, so when the panel is next to the lower, it can be screwed. And also I do the same with the upper. You can see the upper right here with the wings. I'm pre-drilling, pre-countersinking, so it makes it easier for us after we put the cabinet up, just to pinch a little bit with the countersink, but the hole is already there, so it's just a small effort that I do with the countersink. Now, I made a mistake over here that you don't see on the footage. You see me over there using shims and having Armando lift the cabinet a little bit, because I was aligning the bottom of the panel with the bottom of the toe kicks, or the bottom of the bases for the lowers. Now, my mistake was that I didn't check the length of the panel. The panel came 1/4 inch shorter than what it's supposed to be. That translates into the top of the the top of the panel not being level with the top of the uppers. So I completely forgot to check that. So the easiest thing that I would have done is just put a clamp at the bottom to help to hold the panel with the lower, put the upper up, and then through a level, make sure it's level across. Once it's level across, then I should have proceed to screw what I'm doing right now. But instead I went ahead and I went automatically, thinking that it was the right length. I screwed it in, and then I had to move it again later. Now we are proceeding to hang the cabinet with the wings from the blind corner cabinet and the panel. And it was actually at this particular moment right there when I came to the realization that the panel wasn't the right length. I'm even checking the space between the subtops and my bottom of the uppers, realizing that I have to readjust the panel. At this moment I already lift the panel up, I already level across, and what you just saw me doing was transferring the line from the top of the panel to the left wall, because I'm working on using a block, the one that Armando has in his hands. It's a 1/2 inch piece of wood, leftover material, because I want to have something, some sort of support where I can sit the left side of the upper that goes above the fridge, so it has some support, and also I have something to screw it to. I'll explain this a little bit more with more detail.
Let me explain. I have this cabinet. This is the last cabinet that I have for the kitchen, and it doesn't have a panel on the left. Most of the time when we do kitchens, we install a panel that acts as the filler, but also the panel goes all the way down to the floor. So it serves as the leg, just like this one is over here. This case, this is a little bit less expensive, the kitchen is, so we don't have a panel on the left. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and install a block, which is 1/2 inch. I'm gonna install this block over here, and then I'm gonna install another one to the cabinet that is gonna sit on top of this one, and it's gonna slide in. The one in the cabinet is gonna help support the cabinet, and when it sits over here, it's gonna slide in. And then after that, I'm gonna screw the cabinet through the inside to where the 2x4 is. That way the cabinet won't move. But I have a problem. And the problem is that this wall is wider on the front than it is on the back. Basically, the wall is doing this, okay? So I don't have enough space at the very back to be able to put this piece of 1/2 inch all the way to the back, which is usually what I do most of the time. and I always measure what I'm doing, and a lot of times I use 3/4 inch and a half, whatever, whatever space I have. This time this is 37 inches. I only have 37 and a quarter on the back. Having this piece over here, that's what I have. From here to there, I have 37 and a quarter, so the cabinet fits. Okay, so in order to do this, the easy way for me is I transfer the level line from here to here, and I transfer, this is 5 inches, and I transfer 5 inches to here. That means that I only have to put my 5 inches piece flush at the top. So I don't have to, trying to be measuring everything, because if I put it flush at the top and then I do this one 5 inches down from the top, the math is perfect. The math, I don't have to do anything else. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the preparation, and I'll show you a video when we are actually sliding the cabinet in. Okay, so I do have the cabinet ready. I have two pieces of 1/2 inch over here. I'm using the clamps. Now the Festool clamps are really nice for this application. Is a wing that I'm putting to hang the cabinet from the top of the panel, but I need to be able to remove everything. These clamps are perfect for that application. Then I have a block over here, 1/2 inch, flush with the top of the cabinet, and then I have another block over here which is 5 inches down from where the top of the cabinet is going to be. So in theory we should be able to lift the cabinet and then slide it in. Let's see.
So we went ahead and put the cabinet up. Unfortunately, the block was, well, the space was way too tight. I even tried with a mallet to force it a little bit, but I wasn't satisfied with how it looked, so I had to do a small adjustment.
It's apparently is pinching the block, the one in the wall. I'm gonna have to reduce the depth by probably 2 inches because it's pinching the cabinet and it's getting really hard to be able to slide it back to the wall. So I'll do that. Second attempt. It turned out that I had to remove about 3-4 inches of the block at the top because not only the wall is off square, but also at the top it comes in. So there is like 4 inches of drywall that I was basically scraping with the block. So I just went ahead and removed a piece of my block. So I'm gonna try it again.
This time the sliding of the cabinet went much smoother. As you can see, it was actually pinching the block, the drywall was. And now I'm proceeding to use my 7/8 block to screw the upper to the panel. I'm using my clamps. It was already pre-drilled, countersunk, and making sure the reveals are okay, putting some 1.25 screws, and then when I'm done I'm able to remove the clamps and the wing that I was utilizing.
Perfect. Okay, so now it's a matter of screwing the left side right there. I'm gonna screw it through the 2x4. You know what? I'm gonna wait until I'm done with the filler over here. This is not moving. This is not going anywhere, okay? This is already installed, fixed. All this is installed, and I'm gonna wait until I have the filler over here already installed, and also the bottom filler is installed. Because if I screw it right now, it's gonna try to pull me this piece or bend this piece a little bit towards the wall, and I don't want that. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, hope you like it. So now it's time to do fillers, and I'm gonna be starting with this one right here. And there are many ways to do this, but I'll be showing you which one I use. I have like 7/8 over here, probably 3/4 over there, or 1 inch over there at the top. Then at the bottom, let me see if I can light to this. At the back, I have only probably about 3/8. Yeah, something like that. 3/8. So first thing is to start with looking at the material that we have available for this, and it's this one right here. So obviously the material right now is a little bit too wide. Better to be too wide than too narrow. Better to be too large than too short as far as material goes. So this is 2.5 and 2.5. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be using my compass, okay? And in order to use my compass, I need to overlap the cabinet, something, some amount. So in this case, I prefer to overlap it by 3/4, which is the thickness of this end over here. In order to overlap it 3/4, I need to strip the material down to at least 1.5 inches for right now, just so the material doesn't overlap by too much, like what you can see right now. It's just way too much. Now I can also use it like this. It's just that I'm gonna have to put my compass a little bit wider. I'm gonna have to open my compass about 1.5 inches or 2 inches, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with ripping this piece down to 1.5 inches, and then I'll show you how I overlap the cabinet with my piece only 3/4, and I set my compass 3/4, and then I run it in front of the piece, transferring the shape of the wall to the piece. Okay, now I have the piece. As you can see, it was ripped down to 1.5 inches because 1.5 inches is smaller than the space that I have from the inside of the end to the wall. The purpose of this is because I want to overlap this end. And let me tell you why. This cabinet is plumb, it's level. This end is plumb. So I'm using this as reference. I put it flush, see, completely flush. That gives me a parallel line. Then my compass is set to the thickness of what I'm overlapping. Once I have that figured out, then I just run it. Okay, I run it all the way down, and there it is. It's already marked. Hopefully you can see it. This is the part that is gonna be trash, scrap, and this is the one that is gonna fit in here, and I can double check it. If I go ahead and put my tape measurement, I have 3/4 at the top, and I should have over here, I should have roughly 3/4, and there it is. I have 3/4. Okay, so now it's a matter of cutting this one and sanding this one to the exact line over here. Let's do that.
Thank you for watching.